I'll never forget the sound of the phone ringing in the dead of night, that sharp, cold tone slicing through my sleep like a warning that a storm was about to hit. The clock on my nightstand read 12:47 a.m., Friday the 13th of November last year. I, Alexandra Harper, everyone calls me Alex, was curled up in my king-size bed in the middle of the lakefront home on Lake Washington that I had poured 12 years of blood and sweat into owning. This house was everything to me. 4 bedrooms, warm oak flooring, floor-to-ceiling windows looking straight out onto the lake shimmering under moonlight. $2 million. Not luck, not inheritance, but every line of code I wrote at 2 a.m., every stock I picked, every sleepless night climbing from intern to senior data analyst at one of Seattle's tech giants. I reached over to turn off silent mode and looked at the screen. Dad calling. I answered, voice still groggy. Dad, what's wrong? Is everyone okay? My father's voice, Richard Harper, came through. No greeting, no small talk, direct as an order. Maddie and her family are moving into your lake house next weekend. We've already told them it's fine. I shot upright, heart pounding like it wanted to burst out of my chest. What? Dad, what are you talking about? My mother, Diane, cut in, clearly on speaker. Alexandra, don't make a big deal out of it. Maddie's going through a tough time. Ryan just got laid off. They're about to lose their house. Your place is so big. Private lake access, beautiful yard, and it's just you. You're single. You don't need all that space. Single. She always used that word like a gentle accusation, as if being unmarried at 37 was proof I didn't deserve my own space, didn't deserve anything truly mine. I pulled the blanket off and stepped out onto the balcony. Cold wind from the lake blew in, carrying the damp scent of pine and water. I tried to keep my voice calm. Mom? Dad, this is my house. I bought it with my money. Through an irrevocable trust. My name doesn't even appear on public records. How do you know the address? My father gave a smug little laugh. The same laugh I'd known since childhood. The laugh of someone who's always right. We're your parents, Alex. We know what we need to know. Then he lowered his voice, colder. They'll arrive next Tuesday with a moving truck. Maddie's really excited. Don't make this complicated. I opened my mouth to protest, to shout that this was my property, that I'd hidden it so carefully no family member would ever find it. But he cut me off. If you don't like it, feel free to leave, unless you want us to bring up certain old matters. He hung up. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the long dial tone in the dark. What old matters? I racked my brain, but found nothing, just a chill crawling up my spine. They were threatening me with something I didn't even know about. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the leather sofa looking out at the lake, moonlight silvering the calm water, the calm that was about to be violated. In my head spun images of Maddie, my little sister, the family princess, laughing with her husband and 2 kids as they moved their things into my home like it was the most natural thing in the world. But they didn't know one thing. 2 weeks earlier, I'd received a Credit Karma alert email. Someone had run a hard inquiry on my credit for a large mortgage application. I logged in immediately and saw a $400,000 loan in processing, using this very lake house as collateral. Guarantor's signature, Alexandra Harper. That signature, it looked exactly like mine, down to every curve, but I had never signed it. I didn't scream. I didn't call my parents right away to confront them. I just whispered one word when my father finished his announcement. Okay. Just one word. It sounded so weak, so compliant, just like the image they'd pinned on me for 37 years. The stable daughter, the one who never caused trouble, the one who always gave in. They thought I'd swallow my anger again, yield again, let them take what I'd built, just like they'd taken so many other things in my life. But they were wrong. In those 2 weeks, I didn't sit idle. I hired a financial fraud attorney. I hired a forensic handwriting expert. I hired a private investigator. I gathered every piece of evidence, every transaction, every email, every bank document they thought they'd hidden well. I prepared a gift, a special gift for the day they arrived. A gift that would open up every secret they'd buried for 2 decades. Secrets about my grandparents' inheritance I never knew I was entitled to. Forged signatures, loans taken in my name, whispers behind my back that I'd never do anything because I was too afraid of losing the family. They forgot the most important thing. The invisible daughter sees everything. For years I was silent, watching, remembering. I saw how they favored Maddie, how they took from me to give to her. I saw the manipulation, the hypocrisy, the selfishness wrapped in family first. And this time, I wasn't going to disappear. I wasn't going to let them take this house, the last thing that was truly mine. The gift was waiting for them here, in this beautiful lakefront home. And when they opened it, everything they built would collapse.
Stay with me, because this story doesn't end with simple revenge. It ends with justice. Justice so perfect, it'll make you believe in karma again. My name is Alexandra Harper. I'm 37 years old, and this is the story of how I stopped being the invisible daughter and started living for myself. I wasn't always the invisible daughter. There's an old photo I still keep in a safe deposit box at the bank, the only surviving picture from the time I was truly happy as a child. I'm 9 years old, standing between my maternal grandparents on a weathered wooden dock on Lake Michigan. My grandfather, William Grant, wearing a plaid flannel jacket, holding a fishing rod, laughing big because I just caught my very first tiny perch. My grandmother, Eleanor, hugging me from behind, silver hair tied back, blue eyes sparkling like the summer lake.
Behind us is the little wooden cabin they'd owned since before I was born, smelling of fresh pine and fireplace smoke. Every summer weekend, they'd pick me up from our Chicago suburb and take me there. Grandpa taught me how to bait a hook, how to feel the gentle tug when a fish bit. Grandma taught me to make apple pie, the family recipe, flaky crust, cinnamon apple filling that filled the air with warmth. We ate it hot on the porch, watching the lake turn orange at sunset. Grandpa told stories of fishing in Alaska when he was young. Grandma sang old folk songs. I felt like the center of that little universe, loved unconditionally without having to prove anything. I was the first grandchild, the only one for 8 years. They called me Little Captain because I loved steering the small boat. Grandma sewed me a red life jacket embroidered with Alex. Grandpa carved me a small wooden fishing rod for my 10th birthday, promising to take me salmon fishing when I was older. But it all ended suddenly on a winter afternoon when I was 15. I was at school when the principal called me to the office. My mother was there, eyes red, voice trembling. Your grandparents. Car accident on the way home from the grocery store. Black ice. They didn't make it. The funeral was held in the cold Illinois drizzle. I wore my only black coat, standing by the graves as 2 coffins were lowered. I thought the pain would fade with time, but I was wrong. About a week after the funeral, I came home and noticed everything had changed. My favorite photo, the one on the dock, was no longer on the fireplace mantel. The family photo albums in the living room glass cabinet were gone. Grandpa and Grandma's things, the grandfather clock, the porcelain tea set, were packed in cardboard boxes in the garage. I asked Mom, where are the photo albums? She was cleaning the kitchen, not looking up. We put them away, Alex. We need to move on. Her tone was ice cold, like she was talking about clearing out the fridge. I pressed, but why not leave even one photo? I want to keep memories of them. Dad walked in from his study, voice stern. Enough, Alexandra. Your grandparents are gone. Stop living in the past. The family needs to move forward. I didn't understand then. I only knew that from that day on, their names were never spoken in the house again, as if they had never existed. 2 years later, when I was 17, Maddie was born. Madison Harper, a beautiful baby with blonde curls and blue eyes just like Grandma's. From the moment she arrived, she became the new sun the family orbited around. Mom held Maddie all day, took hundreds of photos every month.
Dad bought her an expensive crib, a nursery painted pink with princess murals. Every small milestone, teething, crawling, first word, was celebrated with big parties. And me? I was in 11th grade, 4.0 GPA, working at Starbucks after school to save for college. I volunteered at the public library on weekends, joined debate club, earned a partial scholarship to University of Washington. No one came to watch me debate at state finals. No one threw a party when I got my acceptance letter. When I asked my parents about the remaining tuition, Dad said, "You're smart, Alex. You'll figure it out. Maddie's still little. She needs us more." Smart, so figure it out. That phrase echoed through the years that followed. As if my self-reliance was a valid reason they didn't need to care. I worked 3 jobs that summer, mornings making coffee at Starbucks, afternoons shelving books at the library, evenings babysitting for neighbors. I ate instant noodles, lived in cheap dorms, paid off my student loans in 6 years. I graduated with honors in computer science, landed a 6-figure job in Seattle. Graduation day, I called home. "Can you fly out? Just one day?" Mom hesitated. "Oh, honey, sorry. Maddie has her end-of-term piano recital. We can't miss it. You understand, right?" I understood. I always understood. I learned to become invisible, present enough to not be seen as abandoning family, invisible enough to protect what little was left of me. But they didn't know the invisible daughter saw everything. I saw how they spent the inheritance money my grandparents left. Money I later learned was supposed to be mine. I saw how they laughed when I'd brought up repaying the loans I'd given them. And now, when they thought they could take my lake house, the one place I finally felt peace, they were about to learn that invisible doesn't mean weak. Invisible just means I've been waiting a very long time. And my moment had come. The favoritism didn't stop in childhood. It stretched through every major milestone in my life, like an invisible rope tightening gradually, teaching me to accept that I would always come second. When I went to college, it became clearer than ever. I applied to University of Washington, a top public school for computer science. My SAT scores were sky high, 4. 0 GPA, teacher recommendations, partial scholarship from the university, plus a few local ones for self-supporting students. I was so proud. I brought the acceptance letter home, hoping this time my parents would be proud of me. Dad glanced at it and nodded. "Good job, Alex. You're smart. You'll figure it out." I asked about the remaining tuition, about $25,000 a year after scholarships. Mom sighed. "Honey, this year we're saving for Maddie. She wants to go to a private liberal arts school, a small one in California, specializing in acting and music. Tuition is much higher, but it's her passion. You understand, right? You're stronger than Maddie." Stronger. That's how they justified not helping me. Because I was stronger, I didn't need support. Because Maddie was sensitive, she needed everything. So Maddie went to an expensive private school with green campuses, small classes, famous professors. My parents paid for everything: tuition, private dorm, monthly flights home, even a summer course in New York for theater experience. And me? I lived in a 4-person dorm, ate cafeteria food, worked at the campus coffee shop to pay loans. I graduated with honors in 2011. Commencement was on a beautiful June morning by Lake Washington. I stood among thousands of graduates in my cap and gown, scanning the stands for familiar faces. No one. I had called the night before. "Can you fly out? Just one day. I want you to see me receive my diploma." Mom hesitated. "Oh, Alex, sorry. Maddie has her end-of-term theater performance, lead role in the school musical. We can't miss it. It's a big opportunity for her. You're proud too, right? Send pictures." I sent pictures. No reply. That pattern repeated through my 20s. Every time I achieved something, promotion to lead analyst, 6-figure salary, buying my first condo in Seattle, I tried sharing with family. The conversation always shifted to Maddie. "How's work, Alex?" "Oh, Maddie just landed a supporting role in a local commercial. She's so excited." Or, "You bought a new place? Great. Maddie and Ryan are looking for a bigger house because they're expecting their second. Real estate is so expensive now." And then
the family help requests began. First, in 2014, Maddie, 23, freshly graduated, decided to backpack Europe for 3 months to find artistic inspiration. She maxed out credit cards, $15,000 on business class tickets, boutique hotels, private tours. Came home drowning in debt, crying to me. Mom called immediately. Alex, can you help your sister? Just $15,000. You make good money in tech.
Family helps family. I transferred it. Maddie texted thanks. You're the best sister ever. Love you. Never repaid. Second, in 2017, Maddie married Ryan, a handsome marketing guy, charming but financially unstable. They wanted their first home in Chicago suburbs, a 3-bedroom for building a family. Down payment needed, $20,000. Dad called. Alex, can you send it to help us? You're single, don't need a big house yet. Maddie's starting a family. I transferred again. This time, no direct thank you, just Maddie's wedding photos on Instagram captioned, Dream home thanks to family love. Third, in 2020, Maddie decided to launch an online fashion boutique, Maddie's Muse. She hired professional photographers, bought tons of inventory, ran Facebook ads. 6 months later, heavy losses. Debt to suppliers, ad platforms, total $18,000. Mom called at midnight. Alex, Maddie's boutique is about to go under. Can you save her? Just this once. She's pregnant with the second, so stressed. I sent $18,000, the money I'd saved for condo deck repairs. Total over 10 years, $68,000. I kept a detailed spreadsheet, dates, amounts, reasons. Because I'm a data analyst, numbers are my language. I thought one day they'd repay, or at least bank me properly. But the last time I brought it up was Thanksgiving 2022. We were eating at my parents', table full of roasted turkey, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie. I decided to speak gently. Mom, Dad, I wanted to ask about the money I loaned the family over the years, total $68,000. I'm not rushing, but if we could repay gradually, it would help my financial planning. Silence fell. Then Dad looked at me like I'd said something vulgar. Alex, we don't remember it that way.
You gave it. It was a gift, not a loan. Mom added, Don't be petty, honey. It's not becoming. Maddie laughed, the clear laugh that melted everyone since childhood. You make bank. Why nitpick with me? Family helps unconditionally. Ryan nodded, raising his wine glass. Yeah, Alex, chill. I sat there, fork in hand, unable to eat. Felt like being slapped at a holiday table. That was the last time I shared anything about money or achievements with family. I learned complete silence. No more mentioning promotions, no posting new home photos, no inviting them to Seattle. I became a ghost, present enough not to be accused of abandoning family, invisible enough to protect what remained. And the biggest thing that remained was the Lake Washington Lake House, the place I poured 12 years of heart into building. I bought it last year through an irrevocable trust, so my name never appeared publicly. I told the attorney, I want to make sure no one in my family finds it. She smiled sadly. I understand. I've seen too many cases of people's relatives exploiting. I laughed, thinking she was overly cautious. Now I know she was right, because they found it, and they thought they could take it, just like they'd taken so many other things from me. But this time was different. I was no longer the 22-year-old swallowing tears to pay tuition. I was the one who had prepared the gift, and the gift was about to be opened. After that defining Thanksgiving in 2022, I decided I needed a place that was truly mine. Not the small downtown Seattle condo I'd paid off, but a real home where I could breathe without fear someone would take the air. I began that journey in 2011, right after graduation. First job as an intern at a small data startup. Starting salary $85,000. A fortune for a 22-year-old who grew up in Chicago suburbs on instant noodles and extra shot Starbucks coffee. But Seattle is expensive, and I knew if I wanted real freedom, I had to work harder than anyone. I worked 80-hour weeks, sometimes more, coding early before sunrise, debugging late when the city slept.
I took free online machine learning courses, joined weekend hackathons, volunteered to mentor women new to tech. Promotions came fast. Junior analyst to mid-level in 2015, senior in 2019, lead data scientist in 2022 at a tech giant everyone knows. I lived frugally to an extreme. No Europe trips like Maddie, no luxury cars, no lavish wedding. I rarely ate out, cooked at home, bought secondhand clothes when needed. Every extra dollar went into investments, index funds, blue chip stocks, a little tech stock I analyzed thoroughly. I followed the market like an addict, reading financial reports at 5 a.m., listening to earnings calls over lunch. By 2023, after 12 years of saving, my portfolio crossed 7 figures. Base salary then $220,000, plus bonus and stock options. I decided it was time. I looked in Bellevue, across Lake Washington from Seattle, where many tech wealthy choose to escape city noise. I viewed dozens of homes, but only one stopped my heart. 4-bedroom Craftsman Modern on a gentle slope with direct lake view. Gray stone and warm cedar facade, floor-to-ceiling windows covering the entire back. Walnut floors, marble island kitchen, master with gas fireplace and private balcony. Below, lush green lawn running down to a private wooden dock for kayaks or just sitting. List price, $5 million. I offered $50,000 less and won. The market had cooled with rising interest rates. Closing happened on a typical drizzly Seattle October afternoon. I met the real estate attorney, Patricia Nguyen, a sharp Vietnamese-American woman with 25 years in the business. When I said I wanted to buy through an irrevocable trust to protect assets, she nodded immediately. "Smart," she said, pushing up her glasses. "I've seen too many cases where grown children's families still treat their assets as communal. Entitled family members, I call them that. They think blood gives them rights. Irrevocable trust, your name off public record, hard to find." I smiled, thinking she was paranoid. My family doesn't even know I'm house hunting. I never told them. Patricia didn't smile back. Keep it that way. Don't tell. I've seen the most normal-seeming families turn when they smell money. I followed her advice. The trust named Harper Lake Residence Trust. No mention of me. Only Patricia and I knew I was the sole beneficiary. I moved in on a Tuesday morning in November last year. Just a few basic boxes, bed, coffee table, gray sofa, and one item from the past, the old wooden rocking chair from Grandma Eleanor that I'd secretly taken from my parents' house when I moved to Seattle years ago. I placed it in the living room corner, facing the lake. First time standing in the backyard, gentle lake breeze carrying the sweet scent of water and damp pine, I felt something I'd never had. Peace. Real peace. No worry someone would call asking for money. No fear of judgment for living alone in a big house. No need to explain why I chose gray-blue wall paint instead of pink. Every morning I woke at 6, brewed pour-over coffee, sat on the master balcony watching Lake Washington shift from white morning mist to emerald as the sun rose. Mallards swam quietly, occasionally a kayak glided past leaving sparkling ripples. Sparrows called in the cedar hedge by the fence. Sunsets were the most beautiful. Sun sinking behind the distant Olympic mountains, painting the entire lake slow-burning fire. I often sat on the wooden dock, feet dangling in water, listening to gentle waves against the posts. Orange, pink, purple blended on the calm surface, reflecting off my glass walls like a living painting. I started small plans that were only mine. I'd plant a rose garden in the back corner, like Grandma used to by Lake Michigan. White and pale pink roses, climbing varieties to cover the pergola I plan to build next spring. I'd put a wooden swing on the dock, read books on weekends undisturbed. I'd adopt a dog, maybe a golden retriever, to run with along the lake trail every evening. For the first time in 37 years, I felt entitled to dream about a future without fear someone would take it. I never posted house photos on social media, no location tags, never told my parents or Maddie. Only a few close work friends knew, people who respected boundaries and never asked to borrow money. This was my place, completely mine. But as Patricia warned, entitled family members always find a way. They found it. And now they thought they could walk in and take it, as if my 12 years of blood and sweat were just the foundation for Maddie's dreams.
They didn't know that this very piece had given me strength. Strength to prepare the gift. The gift that would make them understand my piece wasn't for sharing. It was for protecting. At all costs. After he hung up that night, I thought I still had time, at least a few weeks to gather more evidence, for the attorney to finalize legal steps, to prepare mentally. I was gravely mistaken. 3 days later, the phone rang again, this time in the afternoon. I was on the balcony working remotely, watching Lake Washington sparkle under rare winter Seattle sun. Dad, again. His voice sounded cheerier than last time, the fake cheer I knew from childhood. Alex, good news. We've arranged everything for Maddie. Ryan just got laid off. His marketing company cut staff due to recession. They're drowning in debt. Credit cards, car loans, bank about to foreclose their Chicago house. Maddie's stressed, pregnant with a third. You know how sensitive she is. I gripped the balcony rail, trying to stay calm. I'm sorry for them.
But what does that have to do with me? Mom jumped in. Honey, we've thought it through. Your house is huge. 4 bedrooms, private lake, beautiful yard. Maddie needs stability for pregnancy and raising kids. We told them they can move in with you. Family helps each other in hard times. I almost laughed at the absurdity. Mom, this is my house. I bought it with my money. I never invited anyone to move in. Dad cut in, voice hardening. We know everything, Alex. Lake Washington, Bellevue, Olympic Mountain View to die for. We saw on Google Earth, gray house with private wooden dock. You posted one Instagram story last summer with part of the lake visible. We zoomed in close. I froze. Just one story. I posted at sunset, photo of a wine glass captioned Peace at Last with generic Pacific Northwest location. I never imagined they'd scrutinize that much.
Mom continued, sweet voice. We told Maddie you agreed. They're thrilled. Moving truck comes next Tuesday. Leave your furniture. They're only bringing a few things. You're single. Living alone is lonely. Grandkids running around will make it lively. I tried to protest. You can't decide this for me. This is my private property, through a trust. Dad snorted. Trust what? Family has no private versus shared. We're your parents, Alex. We know what's best for you. Then he lowered his voice, cold as before. Don't make this difficult. You don't want us bringing up certain things from the past, do you? That vague threat again. What past things? I searched my memory. Childhood, college, minor arguments, but found nothing. Just a chill. They held something they thought would silence me. I whispered, I understand. They thought I was yielding again. A week passed in mental hell. I barely slept. Every morning making coffee on the balcony, I looked at the lake and saw it about to be polluted by noise, by invasion. I called Patricia daily, she reassured. They have no legal right. Irrevocable trust, your name off public record. But if they're already inside, it gets complicated. Don't let them in. I installed full security cameras, Ring doorbell, backyard cams, even hallway ones. Washington is a one-party consent state. I could record everything without notice. And then Tuesday came. I was in the upstairs home office watching the driveway through cameras. 9 a.m., a large U-Haul backed in. Next, Maddie's black SUV, the Lexus I'd indirectly helped downpay. Maddie stepped out first, long fur coat, oversized sunglasses, blonde hair in a high bun, radiant smile like she was on vacation. Ryan followed, carrying their 5-year-old son, 3-year-old daughter running around his legs. Then my parents from their old Camry, they'd driven from Chicago, clearly planned long ago. Maddie looked straight at the doorbell camera, waved. Alex, sis, open up, we're here. I went down, legs heavy as lead. Opened the front door, Maddie rushed in, hugging me like best friends. Sis, thank you so much. The house is amazing. We're here to help you not feel lonely. She smiled wide, expensive perfume filling the air. Ryan patted my shoulder. Thanks, bro. House is incredible. Lakeview top tier. My parents came in behind, pulling suitcases. Mom hugged me quick. My good girl. Dad just nodded, eyes scanning the house like appraising. They didn't wait for an invitation. Movers from the truck started bringing boxes. Cartons labeled master bedroom, kitchen, Maddie's dishes, kids' toys. A new dining set? My dining table already seated 6.
I stood there, voice shaking. How do you know the layout? Floor plan? Which room is where? Maddie laughed. Mom sent zoomed Google Earth shots. Plus you posted a few stories with house corners visible. I guessed. Family knows each other, right? Dad put a hand on my shoulder. Light squeeze. Not comfort. Warning. Family takes care of each other, right, Alex? Unless you want certain old things brought up. That line again. I looked at him, searching for clues in his eyes, but saw only cold confidence. In one day, my house was fully occupied. Maddie and Ryan took the master guest suite, the second best room with direct lake view. Parents took the remaining room with small balcony. Older child took my old office, turned into a toy room overflowing with Lego and dolls. Younger slept with parents. Kids running, shouting, echoed from morning to night. Ryan blasted music in the mini gym I'd built in the basement. Maddie cooked, leaving my marble island messy that I cleaned daily. I retreated to my master bedroom, the only door still lockable. Lying in bed listening to noise through walls, I felt my sanctuary being devoured. The peace I built over 12 years vanished in hours. But they didn't know. While they laughed, arranged belongings like this was their home, I had activated every hidden camera and mic. Every word, every action was recorded. And my gift, the carefully prepared gift, was about to be delivered. They thought I was still the weak girl who would yield. But this time, I was ready. My peace was worth more than any fake relationship, and I would take it back by any means necessary. When my family officially turned my lake house into a chaotic campsite, I had almost no private space left. My master bedroom was the last fortress, door locked tight. But laughter, kids screaming, Ryan blasting football commentary still seeped through walls. I worked remote from bed, noise-canceling headphones on all day, but my mind never stopped spinning. I knew I had to act fast. If I let them stay long, they'd claim it as bidders. In the U.S., laws around adverse possession or long-term residency could become weapons if I wasn't careful. The first night after they arrived, I didn't sleep. I opened my laptop, logged into annualcreditreport.com, the free government site providing annual credit reports from the 3 major bureaus, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. I hadn't checked in a while because my credit score was always perfect, 820, near max. But this time, something was wrong. In recent hard inquiries, I saw 3 polls from different banks in the past month. And deeper in debt history, a $180,000 second mortgage from 2016, listing me as co-borrower. I had never signed any loan besides paid-off student debt. I clicked details. Loan from a local Chicago bank used to purchase a home, exactly Maddie and Ryan's first house that I'd helped with $20,000 down payment. My signature on the application, right slanting handwriting, distinctive X loop, but I had never seen this paper. Heart pounding, I screenshot everything, saved PDFs. Next morning, I called my grandparents' old inheritance bank, a small community branch in Illinois where they'd set up the trust in the 90s. I requested original trust documents, citing Family Inheritance Record Update. Because I was named beneficiary, though inactive, they agreed after identity verification. 3 days later, a thick envelope arrived certified mail. I sat on the wooden dock, cold lake wind blowing, opened it with shaking hands. Grandparents' estate value in 2008, $750,000, mostly safe stocks and bonds, plus the Lake Michigan cabin sold to cover inheritance tax. Will clear, 70% to first grandchild, Alexandra Harper, activated at age 25. Remaining 30% split among future grandchildren. I turned 25 in 2013. I should have received $525,000, enough to pay off college debt, buy a home earlier, live far more comfortably. But records showed my entire portion withdrawn in 2013 by executors, my parents, with signatures managing funds for daughter. They claimed used for educational and living expenses. Same year, Maddie opened a small fashion store in Chicago, her passion project. Store bankrupt in 2 years. They used my inheritance to fund Maddie's failed dream while telling me no money to help with college.
I sat there, wind tossing my hair, tears falling on the paper without realizing. Not for the money, though $525,000 with compound interest, now surely over $1 million, but for the blatant betrayal. My grandparents set it aside for me, and they stole it without a word. I didn't cry long. Tears quickly turned to cold anger. I immediately hired a private investigator, Mark Sullivan, ex-FBI, specializing in financial fraud in Seattle. I sent him everything: credit report, grandparents' trust, forged signature photos. 1 week later, first report. Third bomb: a new $400,000 loan in final approval at a major bank. Home equity line of credit type, using my Lake Washington house as collateral. Exact address down to street number. Primary borrowers: Madison and Ryan Harper. Guarantor: Alexandra Harper. My signature: scarily perfect. If approved, expected in 10 days, I'd be legally liable. If Maddie defaulted, bank could foreclose. My house. Per Mark's report, Maddie currently owed nearly $550,000. Maxed credit cards, personal loans, tax debt from failed boutique. Chicago house already received foreclosure notice. They didn't just want to crash. They wanted to use my house, my credit, my future to save themselves from the mess they created. I gathered everything: forensic signature analysis from expert, 99% confirmed forgery, bank transaction history, emails between Maddie and a family attorney I'd never heard of. That night, lying in bed listening to house noise, the Google Home smart speakers I'd installed everywhere to play soft music now became tools. I opened the app, checked recording history, feature I enabled the day they arrived. 11:47 p.m. Downstairs kitchen. Dad's voice, casual, confident. She won't do anything. Alex never dares go against family. She's too afraid of drama, afraid of being seen as the ungrateful daughter. Maddie laughed, the clear laugh that won everyone over since childhood. Right, Dad. I know her. She'll complain a bit, then stop. Anyway, our paperwork is solid. The lawyer said even if she sues, it'll be hard to prove. Ryan added, plus the old story. If she makes noise, we bring it up and she's done. Dad lowered his voice. Yeah, she won't dare let that come out. I sat up in the dark, heart racing. What old story? That threat again. But now I wasn't afraid. I had evidence. I had recordings. I had an attorney. I had time. Little, but enough. They thought I was still the girl who would swallow anger to keep peace. They didn't know that girl died long ago. In her place was a 37-year-old woman who built everything from zero, ready to protect it. The gift was nearly complete. And when they opened it, not only would my house be returned, everything they took from me, money, youth, trust, would be accounted for. Every single dollar. After hearing that recording through the smart speaker, I sat in the dark master bedroom, gripping my phone until my knuckles went white. No more fear. Only something cold and sharp spreading in my chest. Resolve. They thought I'd stay silent because they feared family drama. They thought I'd swallow anger to keep the good daughter image. They were wrong. Next morning, I called Patricia Nguyen, the real estate attorney who set up my trust. I summarized: family moved in uninvited, forged signatures, stolen inheritance, new loan using my house as collateral. She was silent a few seconds, then said, Alex, this isn't family dispute anymore. This is systematic financial fraud. I'll refer you to a specialist. That afternoon, I met Rebecca Goldman, fraud and civil litigation attorney in downtown Seattle. Her office on the 32nd floor of a glass tower, views straight across Puget Sound. Rebecca about 50, silver hair cropped short, eyes sharp as knives. She listened 45 minutes without interrupting, just taking notes. When I handed over the stack, credit report, grandparents' trust, pending $400K loan, she nodded. We have enough preliminary evidence to stop the loan immediately and file civil suit. But to guarantee victory, we need more. She introduced 2 more people. First, David Park, forensic document examiner, testified for FBI in countless forgery cases. He came to my house 2 days later with magnifier, high-resolution scanner, handwriting comparison software. He analyzed 3 forged signatures, 2016 loan, new loan application, and others I found in old emails Maddie accidentally forwarded. Conclusion emailed 48 hours later. 99.7% not Alexandra Harper's handwriting. Signs of tracing and practice from genuine sample. Second, Mark Sullivan, the private investigator I'd already hired. He dug deeper. Maddie and Ryan's financial history, credit card debt, Chicago house foreclosure notice, emails between them, and a family attorney, Gregory Barnes, who specialized in shady paperwork for internal disputes. Mark confirmed Gregory once disciplined for unprofessional conduct, but still licensed. Meanwhile, I turned the house into a perfect recording network. Washington is one-party consent, legal to record with only one party's permission. I enabled continuous recording on all Google Home and Nest cams, kitchen, living room, hallway, backyard. I added hidden mics and ceiling lights and outlets. Mark's suggestion, legal on your property. Every conversation, every whisper, stored securely on private cloud, only Rebecca and I could access. I collected more gold clips. Maddie to mom in kitchen. Alex won't dare sue. She's always afraid of being seen as the ungrateful daughter. Dad to Ryan in yard. If she makes noise, we bring up the old story. She'll shut up immediately. I still didn't know what old story was, but it didn't matter anymore. They wouldn't get to use it. Rebecca called strategy meeting that weekend. We sat around the marble kitchen island, now covered in Maddie's kids' toys, but I'd cleared it for the meeting. You have 2 options, Rebecca said straight. 1, private resolution. Send letter demanding they leave in 7 days. Threaten suit if not. They'll negotiate, beg, cry. I shook my head immediately. 2, public, go big. So they can't flip the narrative into sibling family dispute or ungrateful daughter evicting pregnant sister. I asked, how public? Rebecca smiled for the first time. You're on the board of the Lake Washington Preservation Alliance, right? Your file mentions it. Host a community fundraiser at this very house, Lakefront Conservation Fundraiser. Invite wealthy Bellevue neighbors, full preservation board, a few local reporters, and a financial crimes investigator from the Washington State Attorney General's office I know. Mark added, they'll be thrilled to attend and show off united family. When everyone's here, you present everything, evidence, recordings, signature analysis, in front of 30-40 credible witnesses. They can't claim you made it up or misunderstood. I looked out the glass wall, lake sparkling in afternoon sun. The idea was terrifyingly perfect. Private resolution? They'd cry, manipulate, guilt trip. Public? In front of Bellevue's elite, where reputation is everything? They'd have no escape. I nodded. Go big. Rebecca grasped my hand. Good. We have 2 weeks before the $400,000 loan approves. Enough time. I stood, looking at the occupied house. Kids laughing downstairs. Maddie's perfume lingering. They thought they'd won. They didn't know I'd turned pain into a plan. Turned silence into a weapon. And the gift, the biggest gift, was about to be given. Not in darkness, but in light. In front of everyone. So no one could deny it. That fateful evening fell on a Saturday, late November, when Seattle air was crisp and cold, Lake Washington mirror calm under golden streetlights. I named the event Lakefront Conservation Fundraiser for lake and shoreline ecosystem preservation. As a board member for 2 years, I had full right to host at my home. I sent personalized email invites, over 40 people, wealthy Bellevue neighbors, tech millionaires, doctors, lawyers, entire preservation board, a few reporters from Bellevue Reporter and local King 5 News, and most importantly, Sarah Mitchell, senior financial crimes investigator from the Washington State Attorney General's office, whom Rebecca described as reliable and discreet.
I told my family it was a perfect chance to show off the new house and proud, united family. Maddie jumped immediately. Let me help decorate.
I'll wear a pretty dress, post stories. Everyone will see how happy our family is. My parents nodded proudly. Ryan volunteered to grill outside. They thought it was the perfect stage to cement their image. I smiled and agreed. That night, the house glowed with light. I hired an event company to set up large white tents in the backyard, cocktail standing tables, string lights twinkling along the wooden dock. Light menu, Washington wines, local cheese, grilled shrimp, organic salad. Soft jazz from outdoor speakers. Over 30 guests arrived on time, business casual, wine glasses in hand, chatting lively about lakeside real estate and environmental protection. My family performed perfectly. Maddie stunning in red dress, circulating handshakes, radiant smile. This is my sister Alex, the most amazing person. Mom arm in arm with Dad, telling neighbors about our wonderful daughters. Dad shaking hands with husbands, praising the view. Ryan holding older son, boasting 5-generation happy family. I stood in the corner, simple black dress, holding water. Polite smile, heart racing, but not from fear, from anticipation. When everyone settled, second wine poured, I stepped onto the small stage by the large screen I'd set up in the living room, where glass walls opened wide to the lake. Thank you all for coming tonight, I began, voice clear through the microphone. Before we talk lake conservation, I want to share a personal story about family trust and what happens when that trust is violated. The room went silent. Maddie still smiling, thinking it was an emotional tale. I clicked the remote. First slide, copy of a revocable trust deed, Harper Lake Residence Trust, proving sole ownership mine. This is this house, entirely mine. No one else has ownership or lien rights. Murmurs began. Next slide, David Park's forged signature analysis. 3 samples of my forged signatures, comparison graphs of curves, pen pressure, 99.7% forgery probability. These signatures appear on a $180,000 loan in 2016 and a new $400,000 loan pending approval, using this very house as collateral. Maddie went pale, smile frozen. Dad stood. Alex, this is a misunderstanding. Rebecca Goldman, my attorney, standing ready in the corner, spoke. This is a private property event. Miss Harper has the floor. Next slide. Grandparents' trust documents. $750,000 total, 70% to me, $525,000 due 2013, but fully withdrawn by my parents. I played the recording. Dad's voice clear through speakers. She won't do anything. Alex never dares go against family. Followed by Maddie's laugh. Right, Dad, our paperwork is solid. Room dead silent. A neighbor gasped. Bellevue reporter scribbled furiously. Mom tried damage control. This is a family misunderstanding. Alex agreed to help years ago. I shook my head, played another clip. Maddie to Mom in kitchen. She's always afraid of being seen as the ungrateful daughter. Dad stepped forward. Enough, Alex. What are you doing? Right then, the doorbell rang. Perfect timing. I'd arranged it. Door opened. An elderly woman with snow-white hair, long wool coat walked in with a sad but resolute smile. Sharp eyes behind thin wire glasses. Around 80 plus. Light cane, but posture straight. Dad spun around, face ashen. Beatrice? You were dead. Bea Walsh, Grandma Eleanor's best friend from college, whom my family claimed died 10 years ago, smiled gently. I know you hoped so, Richard, but I keep promises to Eleanor. She walked to me, handed an old leather envelope. I opened it in front of everyone. Inside, Grandma Eleanor's handwritten letter, paper yellowed, but words clear. If Alexandra does not receive her inheritance, or if her parents claim it was used for family, no, they are lying. I set it aside specifically for her education and future. Alexandra, if you're reading this, something went wrong. Don't let them take what is rightfully yours. You are always my favorite, and I'm sorry I won't be there to protect you. Also, original notarized will, private attorney letters warning about son's financial irresponsibility, and 2013 withdrawal receipts, exactly coinciding with Maddie's store opening. Room, pin, drop, silent. Maddie grabbed kids, backing toward door. Mom sobbed. Dad stood frozen. Sarah Mitchell, state investigator, stepped forward from the corner, voice calm but authoritative. Mr. and Mrs. Richard and Diane Harper. Mr. and Mrs.
Madison and Ryan Harper. We need to discuss pending federal bank loan applications with clear fraud indicators. This is a federal offense. She turned to me. Miss Harper, thank you for inviting me tonight. I looked at my family, faces once familiar, now completely foreign. I felt no triumph, just deep, exhausted relief. The fight wasn't over, but tonight, justice had begun, and my lake house, my peace, was finally about to be returned. After that fundraiser night, the lake house fell into deathly silence. Guests left awkwardly, some whispering apologies to me, others avoiding the Harper's eyes. Bellevue reporter snapped a few distant photos before Rebecca politely escorted him out. Maddie sobbed, hugging her kids in the SUV, Ryan pale, driving to a hotel. My parents stayed one final night, silent, packing suitcases without a word. Next morning, they left without goodbye. I changed every lock, activated new security, and for the first time in weeks, slept a long, dreamless sleep. But the story wasn't over. It was only beginning to spread. Sarah Mitchell kept her word. 3 days later, Washington State Attorney General's office coordinated with FBI to open a federal bank fraud investigation. The $400,000 loan canceled immediately, flagged red. Involved banks holding the old $180,000 loan and recent credit inquiries ordered to provide full records. Mark Sullivan, my PI, said the case could drag months or years, involving multi-state transactions. Consequences came faster than expected. First, Maddie and Ryan. Official foreclosure notice on their Chicago suburban home arrived 1 week after the fundraiser. No longer able to use my house as backup collateral, they couldn't pay. Bank auctioned the house in 3 months. Maddie posted vague crying stories about tough times, but never named me. Her last influencer contract, a local cosmetics brand, canceled immediately when rumors spread. Companies said they didn't want association with family controversy. Ryan filed for separation 2 months later, moved in with his parents in Indiana. He texted me once, "I didn't know everything. Sorry." My parents faced heavier fallout. Investigation uncovered more shady transactions. They'd used my name as co-signer on a small personal loan in 2018. Another time listed me as co-owner on a savings account to avoid taxes. Result, banned from new credit for 7 years. Credit scores below 500. Bank demanded immediate repayment of loan, funded by my inheritance. Unable to pay, they sold my childhood home in Chicago suburbs, the place full of memories, where grandparents' photo once hung on the mantel. They moved to a small 2-bedroom rental in an average area, living on Dad's early retirement and Mom's part-time work. Rumors spread like wildfire. In old Chicago community my parents once bragged about, golf club, Sunday church, bridge group, they were shunned. A distant aunt called me, confessing, "Your mom once asked me about your inheritance. I wondered and was told, mind your own business. Now I understand." An old friend of Dad's texted, "Richard doesn't answer calls anymore. Everyone's talking about the Seattle fundraiser." In New Bellevue, the story spread through neighbor group chats and lake preservation circles. Not malicious gossip, but careful truth-sharing. Alex Harper courageously exposed family fraud to protect her assets. Some neighbors sent flowers and coffee invites. I became the quiet hero in their eyes, not for revenge, but for standing against manipulation. Rebecca filed civil suit on my behalf. Full $525,000 inheritance plus 10-year compound interest at average market rate. Total $1.1 million. We had every evidence. original trust documents from Bea Walsh, forged signature analysis, recordings, investigation reports. My parents initially planned to fight, hired their own attorney, but seeing the witness list from the fundraiser night, over 30 credible people ready to testify, they chose settlement. They offered 10-year gradual repayment. Rebecca refused. We countered full payment within 18 months via remaining asset sales and loans from mom's side relatives. They accepted. I felt no victorious joy, only relief. Looking back, consequences weren't from me seeking revenge. They were natural outcomes of choices they made for 2 decades, taking from me to give Maddie, manipulating to maintain perfect family facade. That facade now completely shattered. My parents lost friends, home, reputation. Maddie lost dream career, marriage, stable home for her kids. They live with consequences daily, not because I was cruel, but because I stopped rescuing them from themselves. And me? I reclaimed my lake house. I reclaimed peace. And most importantly, I reclaimed myself. Federal investigation continues, possible criminal charges if more evidence found. But for me, civil part was enough. $1.1 million coming, not for spending, but to build something bigger, as Grandma Eleanor would have wanted. Because I was no longer the invisible daughter. I was a survivor. And now I was ready to tell my story, not for revenge, but to help others not stay silent like I once did. 3 months after the fundraiser, when Bellevue autumn leaves turned gold and Lake Washington wore light morning mist, I received the call I always knew would come, but never expected would shake me so much. Mom calling, voice trembling rare. "Alex, your dad's in the hospital. Sudden high blood pressure, severe stress. Doctors say stroke risk. He's asking for you. He wants to see you to apologize." I sat in Grandma's wooden rocking chair, placed by the glass wall facing the lake, phone in hand, speechless. Part of me, the daughter part still somewhere after years of silence, suddenly ached. I pictured Dad lying weak in a hospital bed, remorseful. I thought of weekends he once took me fishing on Lake Michigan when grandparents were alive, his big laugh when I caught a small fish. I wondered if finally he understood. I drove to Overlake Medical Center in Bellevue, best hospital in the area, where tech wealthy usually go. On the way, Seattle drizzle fell lightly, wipers ticking steadily. I told myself, just visit, no promises. Rebecca had warned, they might use emotion to negotiate. Don't let guilt trip pull you back. I walked into room 412. Antiseptic smell strong. Dad lying in bed, visibly thinner, IV in arm, monitor beeping steady. Mom sitting beside, red eyes holding his hand. Maddie absent, probably busy with Chicago house foreclosure. Seeing me, Mom stood and hugged tight. "You came. Thank you." Dad opened eyes, voice weak but clear. "Alex, my girl." I sat by the bed, instinctively took his hand cold and slightly trembling. "I heard from Mom about high blood pressure. How are you feeling?" He nodded weakly, eyes on me long. I'm sorry. I was wrong." We treated you terribly all these years. Favoring Maddie, taking your inheritance, the papers, I can't justify it. I just want to apologize before it's too late. Throat tightened. First time he admitted. No excuses, no blame shifting. I thought of childhood. Times he missed my graduation. Money I sent never repaid. Part of me wanted to forgive. Say, "It's okay, Dad. Let's start over." Mom cried. "We're old now, Alex. Your dad's blood pressure from lawsuit stress. Maddie lost everything. We only have each other. Family first, honey." Dad squeezed my hand lightly, eyes glistening. "You're my strongest daughter. I'm proud of you, even if I never said it. I just hope, if you drop the lawsuit, we can put this behind us. We'll repay slowly, but we will. And we can be family again, like old times." If you drop the lawsuit. Those words like cold water in my face. I looked at him, searching for true sincerity. But now I saw clearly. His eyes held not just remorse, but calculation. Voice weak, but words were negotiation. Same old tactic they'd used for years. Trade emotion for benefit. I remembered Thanksgiving when they laughed at me for asking about $68,000 debt. Remembered Maddie in recording. She won't dare. Remembered how they took my inheritance to fund her failed dream while telling me, figure it out yourself. This wasn't an apology. This was a final negotiation. I gently pulled my hand away, my voice strangely calm. I'm glad you're stabilizing. I hope you recover fully. Dad tried sitting up more. Alex, think carefully. We're family. Blood. Drop the suit. We start over.
Mom cut in, voice rising. After everything we did for you, raised you, gave you a home, you'd let your dad die from stress? This is how you repay us? I stood, looked them straight in the eyes. You fulfilled the bare legal minimum as parents. Food, shelter. But that doesn't give you right to steal my inheritance, forge my signature, or try to take my house. I'm not dropping the suit. Not because I hate you, but because I can't keep letting you take what I built. Dad opened mouth to speak, but I continued. I don't hate. I just choose not to rescue you from consequences anymore. $1.1 million is the price for 20 years of manipulation. I hope you learned something. Mom sobbed loudly. You're heartless, Alex! I turned, walked to the door. Goodbye, Mom and Dad. Get well soon, Dad. I walked the hospital hallway, Mom's crying echoing behind, but not stopping me. Out to the parking lot. Rain had stopped. I sat in my car a moment, waiting to see if tears would come. None. Only deep relief, like dropping a heavy backpack I'd carried 37 years. I drove home to the lake. Sunset painted the water red, gentle wind carrying fresh pine scent. I opened the door, stepped into space now completely mine. No kids' noise, no Maddie perfume, no threats. I sat in Grandma's chair, looked at the lake, and for the first time felt true freedom. I had cut ties completely, not from hatred, but because I finally chose myself. And this time, no one could take that away. 2 months after leaving Overlake Hospital, a certified envelope from an unfamiliar Chicago law office arrived at my house. I opened it nervously, thinking more litigation papers. But no. It was from the second attorney my grandparents Eleanor and William secretly hired in the 90s, a close friend of Bea Walsh. He explained the trust had not only the main inheritance my parents took, but a separate locked clause, only activated under one special condition. Condition handwritten by Grandma herself. $250,000 reserved for Alexandra's healing and freedom, released only when she stands up to defend herself. Bea Walsh had watched from afar all these years, waiting for the moment I confronted family. The fundraiser night was the proof she needed. She signaled the attorney the next day. Money transferred to my separate account 1 week later, completely separate from the ongoing $1.1 million suit. I sat on the wooden dock, reading the attached letter, Grandma's familiar handwriting. If you're reading this, you've found your strength. I always knew you would. This money isn't for them. It's for you to build the life you deserve. I cried. First time in years, tears not from pain but from truly being seen by the person who loved me unconditionally. I didn't keep the money for myself. I called Rebecca with the idea. Use all $250,000 to start a nonprofit supporting women facing family financial abuse, those whose inheritance was taken, signatures forged, manipulated by guilt. We named it Eleanor Grant Foundation, after Grandma. Foundation launched officially 2 months later, starting small. Simple website, virtual office, 1 part-time legal staff, and counselor. We focused on free legal aid, financial counseling, online support groups. News spread through women's Reddit forums. Small article on King 5 News about Seattle tech woman starts foundation from personal story. I began changing the lake house, not just physically, but making it truly mine.
I found the old photo, 9 years old with grandparents on Lake Michigan dock, in storage I'd kept since leaving parents' house. I had it professionally restored, enlarged, framed in oak, hung center living room where lake morning light hits. I repainted the living room deep navy, the color Mom once called too gloomy, not family-friendly. Now it was my color, strong, peaceful, deep. I adopted a golden retriever from a local rescue, a 3-year-old female, golden fur, gentle brown eyes. I named her Luna, from moonlit nights on the lake I once sat alone thinking. Luna ran on the grass, chased ducks, lay at my feet while I worked. Her joyful barks filled the house, without manipulation noise. I started speaking publicly. First invitation from a Seattle Women's Empowerment Conference. I stood before 300 women, many over 50, warm sweaters, eyes full of empathy. I told everything. Invisible daughter, stolen inheritance, fundraiser night, final cutoff. I entered. You can love family without letting them destroy you. Boundaries aren't betrayal. They're self-respect. Standing ovation. Dozens came afterward to hug me, share stories. Mothers taking daughters' college funds. Brothers forging mortgage signatures. Parents weaponizing guilt for control. I started writing a book. Working title, The Invisible Daughter. Not for revenge, but healing, for me and others. I wrote evenings by the gas fireplace, Luna sleeping at my feet, lake sparkling outside glass. 6 months after the fundraiser, I sat on the porch watching sunset paint the lake pink and gold. I hadn't heard from parents. Attorney said they made first $1.1 million settlement payment.
Maddie sent one text 3 months ago. I hope you're happy now. I didn't reply. I felt no anger, no desire to reconnect. Maybe someday if they truly changed, or not. Either way, I was okay. Phone buzzed. Email from Eleanor Grant Foundation. First woman we helped, a 45-year-old single mom in Tacoma, wrote, "Thanks to your story, I knew I wasn't crazy or ungrateful suing my parents for forging my signature on a home loan. I won last week. I'm getting the house back for my kids. Thank you for showing me loving family from a distance is allowed." I saved the email, opened laptop, continued the final book chapter. I typed the first line on forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean erasing their wrongs. It means forgiving myself for staying silent too long. Luna rested her head on my lap. I scratched her ears.
The lake house stood solid behind, living proof I was always strong enough to build something worth keeping. And for the first time in 37 years, no one could take it away. My story didn't end with revenge. It ended with something far more powerful. Freedom. Real freedom from finally choosing myself after a lifetime of being chosen last. If you're hearing this story and feeling that familiar ache about the invisible child, money taken, family that gave and took forever, you're not alone. You were always worthy of protection. You were always worthy of unconditional love. And you were always strong enough to stand up. Being a good daughter doesn't mean being a doormat. You are allowed to choose yourself. You deserve it.